Hello, as they say. Boys and girls, welcome to Symphobia 2's instrument, part 1 of the instrument walkthrough. The idea is I'll probably be doing full orchestra and individual sections in this one, and then there'll be a part 2 that will look at the legato, dystopia, miscellaneous. I've already done, in fact, the first one I've done it all back to front. The first one I've done was Lumina, which is Symphobia 3. Then I did Symphobia 1, as it's now called. By the way, it's technically still I'm bored of saying that. Symphobia 2 is the last one for me to look at. It was released quite a few years ago. It's had a lot of updates since it was first released. If you go to trysound.com, you can actually play the original version yourself, book a little session. You've got tweeting birds in the background. There'll be a bit of latency delay, but you'll get your hands on it, and it will give you a good 80% of what the library is, but it has had some important additions since then. So I'll be looking at that, among other things. We start here in full orchestra, which, as the name suggests, we didn't really have this in Symphobia 1. It had mixed orchestra, which is mainly strings and brass. This is the whole thing. And a lot of this stuff is a bit like some of the multis were in Symphobia 1. So if we start here with Staccato Orchestra A. So you've got that kind of the news. Symphobia 2 update. You've got that kind of Xylo going on in that one, and it's. I should just quickly talk through the interface here. It's the same as the current version of Symphobia 2's version 1.41, where you've got key switches up the top here, and you whiz through them. You can either switch them or you can stack them, so you can have several going at once, which doesn't always make a great deal of sense to me. You've got this in Lumina where they have their stories and they're designed to be stacked, so that makes a lot more sense. But occasionally you might want to put a staccato with a sustained note, and so if you want to, you can do that. You've got volume control here, global reverb and limiter. In each articulation, you've got attack, release, EQ, pitch, advanced stuff for release trails, volume and length of those. Round robin, you can reset the key. Round robin being the short samples that are so they don't sound too mechanical. You've got variations of the same note. Right, that's quickly dispensed with that. Oh, and in the middle here, most importantly perhaps, so that's the stage mic position. And now I've gone across to the close. So you still got a bit of room in there, but it's just tightened it all up a lot. I'm a big stage man. I always tend to leave it on stage. Can't stop doing that. So B. Pretty similar. I'll be honest. It's a subtle difference, isn't it? Write in and tell me, what is the difference between those two? I honestly can't tell. They all sound lovely, though. Sustains in octaves. So when you've got these patches that are called octaves, they've orchestrated it, so some are playing one octave and some playing the other, and hopefully quite a natural sound. And here we have some CC1 action. Mod wheel, see that going on in the corner. You often want to watch that to see what I'm doing there. That's what you got going on there. Wide octaves. Now, I think wide here doesn't refer to the stereo width, the width of the soundstage. This is referring to octaves many octaves, not just one octave and the octave above or something. But here you've got, I don't know, 3. Listen to that. Might be 4 octaves. And again, you've got a good amount of have dynamic control. Not that one. So you've kind of got this repeated almost. 2-octave range that gets repeated on the keyboard. All good. And again, people often ask, can you separate those instruments out into strings and brass and all that and route them differently or do what you want? No, is the answer. If you're using a multi-patch in Symphobia 1, which is fully orchestrated, yes, you can do that because you have the individual instruments. You can put one out of one output. So if you need to create stems so that you always have your brass separate as brass and strings as brass, you can do that with Symphobia multis very often. Sometimes they pre-bake within an instrument, but on, say, Bigger Than Life, you can do that. You can put them where you want them. Moving on. Really replace? Yes, really. Would sound sarcastic, doesn't it? Really? You really want to replace that? It's that good. Yeah, all right, yeah, it is good, but we do want to move up. Right, strings and woodwinds. So this is a marcato, and you have this thing that... There's a bit of reverb put on there. If I just take that off. When you let go, it's not that natural a sound. It doesn't have a release trigger on this. So it's one of those, again, I went through this in the other video. For these patches, I tend to turn the release right up. And what that means is that you hit the note quickly, but it plays the whole note. If you're going to use a marcato patch rather than the sustain that you just let go, I figure you want to use it. High sword with winds. Sword is short for sordino, which is with mutes. So it tends to be this very soft, lovely, delicate tone. There's a little bit of dynamic control there. That's playing as hard as I can. And that's soft. High staccato with xylophone. And there is a very similar patch to this in Symphobia 1, I have to say. I need to put strings with it. It's woodwind and xylo. It's the news again. I won't do it again. Okay, long textures and effects. I think in the early versions of Symphobia 2, I think I'm right in saying this, it certainly wasn't Symphobia 1, rather than having all these key switches, you had loads of different patches, but now it's all there. Right, we've got loads to get through here. Dark textures. So that was a relatively short one, some of them are pretty long. This one sounds like it might just loop, actually. Goes on and on. Shorter ones seem to be up the right hand side. So onto rhythmic textures. I've heard that a few times. Sounds very good. You get the idea. And I mentioned this on the Symphobia video as well, that some of these ones that are rhythmic, and there's more coming on, I think it'd be great to have a speed control like I have in Lumina. And I think that will come in time. They've sort of indicated that it might well. Which would be dead handy for just shortening and lengthening crescendos and obviously tempo sync stuff. Again, we've got more sustaining ones here on the left-hand side, and the crescendos on the right. Tonal Textures 1. So it is each octave. You can hear it is indeed tonal, although quasi-tonal. And each octave, actually those are different. Gives you a slightly different variation. They're nice. They're not too specific. Some of these things, if they're too specific, it gets quite hard to... Oh, what am I doing? I've gone out of my mind. It gets quite hard to for them not to be too identifiable. But those are nicely brooding and generic, I think. That's nice, isn't it? Going to go around the corner and... Ooh, didn't expect that round the corner. The round the corner patch. In film and TV scoring, it's all golden. Tutti clusters. Tutti, I think, means everything, pretty much, all together. And cluster means a group of notes that are, well, they sound like that. Not traditionally melodic, but it's all very John Williams, isn't it? I have to say. Same trick, you've got your shorter ones on the top, and you've got your longer sustains down here. Slightly odd, some of that at the front end. Go back to that one. Oh, it's okay. I get it. There we go. Ah, I see what's happening there. Okay, what's going on here is that you've got a release trigger. So if you'd have to be slightly careful how you use this one. So listen to this. So if I go here, play it for a little bit, and let go, very natural, lovely. However, if I keep holding it, it will last about 5 or 6 seconds. It will go, and then you release it. Oh dear, that's that release trigger. So if you want to use it for its natural length, you'll have to remember to turn the release triggers off for this patch. And now, if I go the whole length, and release, hey, it's okay. So I think it's a good feature, because very often with these clusters, the problem is you want to go out after 2 seconds, say, and then you release it and you fudge it with reverb, but it doesn't sound that good. Whereas here, that sounds really natural. So that's what's going on there. Symphobian stacks. That's intriguing, isn't it? So you've got your, much like the short hits and rips from the first one. And a few different controls on here. You've got your high pass and low pass on the mod wheel. Does that. Saturation. Does that. Convolution would be a huge reverb. So you see, that's what they do. Sorry. Yes, where was I? Oh, that's good, isn't it? And you've got there, that doesn't... I don't think it had the release trigger in. That's just done with reverb. Oh, that's great. Come on, that's great, isn't it? And down the bottom end, got this sort of synth bass. If that doesn't make you want to score horror films, I think, well, if it's horror, it's more kind of, that's more, they can use it in horror, but that's used in a lot of mainstream, that stuff, really, isn't it? Right, Dreamy Textures. I think this is obviously going to be a little bit of the lighter side of Symphobia 2, because there is a little bit. It's, in general, the lighter stuff really comes into Lumina, and I remember thinking at the time, I wish they'd broaden it out a bit. But we've got a taste of it here. So it's pretty tonal, really. Moving. Loop that. But we have those release triggers, that's nice. Here actually it's on the release, it's playing a slightly different chord, but I'd rather have that. I think that's nice. Very usable. That's the trick of the release triggers, which you can turn off if you don't like them. Phrase 2, sustained. And phrase 2 moving. It goes without saying, something like you're hearing here, you just couldn't do with multi-samples. You have to have these kind of specially made effects, patches, to get the sound remotely authentic. Phrase 2. That's an error, isn't it? That should say phrase 3 sustain. And phrase 3 moving. Oh, isn't it lovely? Ooh, how delightful. Oh. Again, we have our release triggers. Beautiful. Duty chords. Whole orchestra playing chords. There you go. Sustain FF. That sounds like my kind of patch. Or with Piatti, which is cymbal crash. Have major, still major, minor, still minor. Like so, with or without your cymbals. Now that's a classic case where I want a speed control because, you know, to time that might be tricky. So look out for a future version. Come on, ProjectSAM. Give us a future version with a speed control on some of these patches because that would make that so much more usable, I think. It's a gorgeous sound. It's like a slightly less in-your-face sforzando, isn't it? And releasing that is, I believe, just the reverb. Yeah. Decrescendo. Sounds like a made-up word, but it isn't. And shut up. So, yeah, you get the idea there. It just goes down to quiet and then stops. Repetition. Oh. Contact glitched. That's great. And again, the speed control would really help. Same deal, major on the left, minor on the right. Not too shabby, and staccato chord. So if I try and play that, da-da-da-da, you can sort of do it, but it's not as good as the real repetition patch, is it? Just got one dynamic, actually. So that's good for your big, bad ending. There we go, full orchestra. Thank you very much, full orchestra. Go and take a break. There's orange juice round the back. See you in 15. No, I won't see you in 15. I'll see you right now. Strings, don't go away. Strings, stay here. Come back! String ensemble extensions. So, I think you'll find there's a... Is there some... No, okay. Yeah, fine. I think all of this is new. Some of these patches do have some Symphobia 1 patches in to sort of glue it together, some of the basics. So this... Yeah, we're crying out for our speed control again, aren't we? Staccato mod is actually staccato repetition. So. Don't know if you're hearing this in good stereo, but you can hear the width in the staging of it as well. Mod. Wait a minute. That's right. I do remember. It's all coming back to me. I only got this last week. So, mod wheel down. Put the mod wheel up, and you get the repetition. And that's key velocity. Minor trills, mod. Lovely. Bum, 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 bum. Hit my mic. Yeah, very nice. Major trills mod. Major. Great range on that. You can just dial it back. Espressivo long. My legendary Italian accent coming to the fore. Espressivo is, I think... Oh, dear. I think it's... I'm going to be pulled up on this. I think it's like playing with expression, but someone will tell me that's wrong. Ain't that beautiful? The real problem with a lot of these patches is when you want to change say a triad, as I was doing there in the middle, it of course re-triggers from the start. So you've got to be careful on how you use that. Espressivo short. Fast crescendo long. And again, you hear that? It's all cutting off. So, want to do that? Symphobia series does do a very nice woomph. And fast crescendo short, I'll be doing the same thing, I'm sure. See, I've got to remember. Let's turn the release up, and now switch back to global, and now I've switched it. If you're doing it with the key switches, you can do that any time, but if you're on using the GUI to select, you've got to be in global mode. Get the idea? So just to compare. That's what a long is. That's what a short is. Very nice. You're still not allowed to go anywhere, strings, because we now need you to play some Ensemble Various. I don't think I'd do very well at the podium, to be honest. Can you tell? Right. And there's a nice release trigger for you. Again, having it orchestrated into octaves like that is that much more authentic than doubling up necessarily, which can make things sound artificially big. Symphobian sustain. Mod wheel action again. Oh yeah, so this is exactly what I was talking about. This is the patch from Symphobia 1. The basic strings. You hear the natural way of it here is that there's less vibrato, or maybe even no vibrato, at the low dynamic, and as you increase the dynamic, the vibrato kicks in as well. Quickly up and down range. So if you do have Symphobia 2 and don't have Symphobia 1, there are the occasional bread and butter patch, of which that is a good example. String ensemble effects. Really replace? Yes, really. Aye. Loading up. How are you? Day going all right? Right, Mad Textures. Great. It's not that mad, is it? That's kind of brooding. Ah! That's more unhinged. Stay away from the knife! That's great. Oh dear. Character's in trouble there. Growling strings. Oh yeah, I know. All this stuff does remind me of Lost. I was a big fan. And I even thought the ending was okay. I'm getting distracted again. Let's move on. Pizzicato effects. Laid logically on the keyboard for highs and lows. Seeing if it runs out or if it goes on forever. Can't remember. Ah, it runs out eventually, so you just do a sneaky little re-trigger in there. That wasn't very sneaky. Yeah, I have to do better than what I'm doing it now. I'll get away with that one. There you go, lovely. Short gliss effects. I think we're into psycho territory here. Oh, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'd be wanting to do my old trick again. Whoa. Stacked, isn't it? Awesome. Everything is awesome. Yee. Magnificent. This is good fun. Have you heard this before? Gliss to wide octaves. Ah, you see? Ah, I have to leave it go. No release trigger on it. You see, the problem with the release trigger is that depending on where you are in that cycle, the release trigger will make no sense at all. So I see why it hasn't got one. But you might have to just put a sneaky bit of that on it to kind of release a bit early. Let's just do a different note so you can hear. Sort of get away with it. And I will now play one and leave it run to the end. Oh, that's not there. They do stop eventually. There we go. Cellos and double basses, you can now go and have your orange juices. Violins with violas, stay here. Keep playing. Oh, no, not paying. No, I'm not paying you. Symphobia, ProjectSAM pays you. So there you go. Stop complaining. So that's cool, isn't it? So low velocities, it's just a regular staccato. You play it hard and you get the grace note. That's a great note down. On the mod wheel, if you play it hard, no, it's, I don't. Oh. Trying to play something I'm going to find. Can't do it. Almost. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's what I was trying to do, but it's rubbish when I try and do it. So that's a nice patch, that. So you're just playing gently, and then you can have your grace notes on your mod wheel, up or down for the direction. Marcato in octaves. Quite a short marcato, isn't it? Again. Press and hold. Violas, ponticello. This is that harsher kind of tremolo. It's that more brittle sound. It's a great sound, that. And you know. I've got to play further down. Just riding the mod wheel here. So you can ride it as the scene develops and then go. Awesome! It's violas, so yes, of course, that's why it doesn't go very high, because it's just violas. It goes. Oh, that's mapped an octave lower on the keyboard than I'd expect. I expect it to be C2, but it's C1. But that's the viola range. And a version where it's just a natural little dynamic in it. natural sounding, isn't it? It's beautiful. Beautiful. Sustain and non-vibrato. Sadly, there's no CC1 control on this. Not dissimilar to Sordino, but just not quite, because it's got more HF in it. And well, I was saying it's not like a Sordino at all. It's a non-vibrato, it's what it says it is. Much like the lowest dynamic. Ponticello effects. All that brittle stuff. Interesting if it stops, or if it will do this all day. It stops! Terrific. Osporvia, what's this? Violoncelli. Chaps, you've got a few typos going on in here, I think. This is the violins and the celli. By the looks of things, we're talking violas. Alright, violin players, you can now go. Violinists, I believe they're called. This is key velocity. Tremolo, or that Ponticello action, which I have some control over. I love having that natural dynamic control. Staccato. There we are. Musical string phrases. You keeping up? Am I keeping you up? Right. Am I keeping you up? Are you feeling rather strange? Oh, sorry. No. Or bending chord 2 if you prefer. These are great, I love these. Again, it's very lost. Not as in they can't find the score, but like the show Lost. I think you know I meant that. Or second variation. Beautiful 8-player horns, right? All strings can now go. Horns, you're back in. We have a few different articulations here. It's not that common for a Symphobia series to just focus on one section, but here we are. This is where someone tells me marcato doesn't mean what everyone thinks it means. Everyone thinks it means that sort of intermediate between short and long. That to me just sounds like sustain, and you've got key velocity. Or in this variation, you have sustain with CC1, which is how I like to work. So it's all at the low end of the dynamic range. Yeah, it's not one for your big French horn kind of thing. That's a marcato. I think it's a mislabel again, isn't it? Guys, bit of labelling. And staccato. Trills. Minor trill, isn't it? It's minors. Oh Lord, that was really long reverb. And effects. That's a nice thing to just have going in the distance, isn't it? Very good. Horns with bones now as well. Dum-diddle-dum, dum-diddle-dum, and up here. And up here, there it is. Now that's awesome. Love that. Just playing fifths there just sounds incredible. That's a great patch. Cliffhanger cluster mod. What does the mod do here? It's 2. That's no mean feat, is it? It's very hard to get cluster patches with mod wheel stuff because the transitions will sound so lumpy. That sounds really good. That's great. That's me controlling all the dynamics, or you can have slow and fast variations. And fast. Trumpets, please. Trumpets, 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 trumpets in octaves. Bom-ba-lum, 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 bom. I find these octave patches deliberately stop you playing triads. Over that many octaves starts to sound almost too big. I don't know, there might be a place for it. It's pretty good, really. But, do you know what I mean? Lovely. Marcato and octaves. That's a very short marcato. Awesome. A lot of these patches as well will have legato variations, but we're coming on to that in the next video, as this one's drawing to a close. With the flutes and piccolos to entertain us briefly, before we drag the strings back in. So that's only key dynamics here. Playing ensemble patches, it's tricky. It so quickly can sound like an organ. More than any other section, I find myself just using solo instruments in woodwinds and legato patches for that very reason. It doesn't matter what library I'm using. I tend to just prefer the solos. Stacks are nice though. From a grade 4 I can still remember a scale or two. I either failed or passed grades 4 or 5, I can't remember. That's the horrible truth of it. And I never got any better. Minor trill mod. Dum bum 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 bum. I always do it. Mod wheel. Oh, great. That's very handy. And major. Ah, major. Nice. An effects collection. Bonkers. Huh. All very usable. So we have the longer ones on the right here for some reason, and the short ones on the left. Finally, cello with basses effects. And then we'll stop this part of the video. I was using the royal we. It's only me. It's only me in here, just talking to myself. Form of madness. Well, it's we, because you're here. I'm not really creating the mood there, am I? Lordy! Ooh. Nice range here. Ooh. Really short, snappy stuff there. And pizzicato and flageolet effects. That'll be the flag. Oh dear. That'll be the pizzi. There we are. Thank you very much, boys and girls. Part 2 will follow. There we'll be looking at the legato ensembles, which a lot of the sections that we have here, there are legato equivalents. That's where it starts coming into its own, I think, some of these individual sections that you might play a great line legato and then need to flesh it out with more articulations, and you can do it. So join me for part 2, won't you? Thank you very much for staying with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, I say,